If you've ever looked at a finished painting and wondered where it really begins, the answer isn't with color. It begins here. This is the underpainting for my newest oil painting, Play Fight. And although this layer will eventually disappear beneath many others, it may be the most important stage of the entire process. People often imagine that expressive paintings happen spontaneously, that an artist simply reacts to the canvas until something feels right. My process is almost the opposite. Long before I picked up a brush, I had already built this composition. The figures in the painting began as sculptures made from wax strings. I arranged them into a still life under carefully controlled lighting and studied the relationships between the forms before I ever mixed a color. By the time I stand in front of the canvas, the painting already exists in my mind. The challenge isn't discovering the image, it's bringing that vision to life. That's what this underpainting is for. At this stage, I'm not thinking about beautiful color or refined details. I'm thinking about structure. I'm establishing the architecture that every future layer will depend on. The underpainting lets me solve problems early while the painting is still flexible. Where is the greatest sense of movement? Where should the viewer's eyes enter the composition? How can I create tension without losing balance? How do the figures relate to one another? Those decisions are far more important than choosing the perfect color. The title, Play Fight, comes from something familiar to many of us, that strange space where childhood play sits right beside conflict. Children can move from laughter to wrestling in an instant. It's energetic, unpredictable, and full of emotion. I wanted the painting to hold that same feeling, not violence, not innocence, but the energy that exists somewhere between the two. That emotional energy has to be built long before the color arrives. As I work through the underpainting, I'm constantly thinking about rhythm. I want your eye to move through the composition almost the way music moves through time. Some passages need to accelerate, others need to pause. Some areas pull your attention immediately, while others quietly support the whole. Movement in a painting isn't created only by the figures, it's created by the spaces between them, by the direction of the brushstrokes, by changes in value, by edges that disappear and edges that demand attention. All of those relationships begin here. This layer also gives me permission to stay loose. Because I know the structure is in place, I don't have to control every mark that comes later. The freedom people see in the finished painting is only possible because of the planning underneath it. That's one of the great paradoxes of expressive painting. The more spontaneous I want the final surface to feel, the more intentional the foundation has to be. As the painting develops, much of what you're watching right now will disappear. Some marks will be covered completely. Others will only leave subtle traces beneath the surface. But even when you can't see this layer anymore, you'll still be seeing its effects. Every color decision, every gesture, every area of light, every sense of movement will grow from what happens here today. I think there's something beautiful about that. Some of the most important work in a painting is never visible in the finished piece. It exists underneath, quietly holding everything together. Thank you for joining me at the very beginning of Play Fight. In the next stage, color begins to transform the painting, and the structure you're seeing now starts to disappear beneath new layers. If you'd like to follow this painting from the first brushstroke to its completion and see the wax sculptures that inspired it, subscribe and join me in the studio. I'll see you in part 2.